a lot of what I mentioned earlier is like, as we navigate and as we've grown and are coming into this, I want to make sure I'm create intentional about creating something that isn't just Mav school, you know. So it's like I'm really like our mission is like empowering youth voice, and whether that's through dance, art, music, anime, comic book design, um, technology based arts like, you know, live streaming and podcasting and stuff like this. Um, you know, like we're really intentional about that.
I got a question for you. So, I guess I got a bunch of questions for you. That's why we're here. But anyway, something that kind of popped up as you were talking. So you're a Mexican American,
Mhm.
and you find this African American culture. You become a participant. Then, as you develop in this your participation, you become more than a participant. You become a creator. You become a I don't know, a provider because you're providing all these opportunities. Do you do you ever think that as a Mexican American that's a contributor to this culture and a member of it, do you ever think that you get like the Mexican American contributions get lost under the term Latino or
Yeah,
brown?
yeah.
Because when people think of breaking and they hear Latino, they don't think Mexican. They think, oh, Puerto Ricans.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Do you ever feel that way? How do you I don't know, how do you feel?
It's weird because I exist in this a black city. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So like my identity is black music, like is gotten down through me, you know, like it's passed down through me. You know, so it's always been like when this like became like the point of conversation for a lot of people, you know, about like was a black created art form. No, no, Latinos were there in the beginning too and stuff. And it's just like as people like for me personally, understanding like the diaspora and how all of that worked and like just even just on a simple level, James Brown, like everybody calls him the godfather of this stuff. He is a black man making black music. Therefore, why is it like I don't know. I get it because people feel like they're erased. I also don't like the term guest because I'm not going anywhere. Like I'm in this house as well. But I understand I didn't build the house. I understand like I'm in a black like created space. I understand that the black music, whether it's house, techno,
The mentality of the machines, considering the assembly lines of the automotive companies, you know, we've gotten our inspiration from that decay. We're all pretty interested in synthesizers and drum machines and all that because it has a lot to do with our background in machines with automotive factories. So we just kind of put a soul into that machine, and that's how techno became what it is today.
techno, the big three, all three black males, three black men that created techno. Like, you know what I mean? Not EDM, not this weird shit that comes out of Germany. You know, for like vampire movies and shit. Like, no, like actual, like, like good music. Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? And like all of the layers to it and everything. Like, it's all like every last artist I named has been black musicians, black artists. Like, you know, and it's for so for me coming from this city and this sound, Dilla, Elzai, Slumville, you know, Guilty, Fat Cat, like all these different people. It's like it's I don't feel erased in it. I feel like this has just been my chapter inside of it. I feel like that's probably a little harder somewhere like in LA where the like Chicano culture is so strong. Like where like in San Diego where there is a nice Chicano identity. That's something I'm working on with my partner, Amit. She's we're working together, partnering on this idea for like what is that story? You know what I mean? Like what is our story? Because you know the Selena quote, you know, you're too Mexican for Americans, you're too American for the Mexicans, you kind of fit in this weird in between. So it's like I've always kind of existed in there, but I found my identity in hip hop. Like here was this, like you know, obviously, you know, we know our space with our parents and you know where they come from, regardless of culture. You know, it's just like this is my turn, this is my chance to write this chapter in this book in this city in this hip hop, whether it's hip hop, whether it's just art, culture, music, classical, could be jazz, whatever, right? Like eventually you kind of take it onto your own and become your own with this. So it's just I don't feel like I'm been washed over for like erasure in history and looking at it because it kind of like the scene kind of got started in like in the Latino neighborhood and then went out from there. And it existed in pockets like, you know, in these other spaces. It wasn't like it was just like us doing it because there was Strings who was doing it way before he came into the neighborhood. But for us, like this is where like a lot of the events happen. This is where a lot of the culture happened because I've stayed in the city the whole time. I've stayed around it. And then so it's just like, but again, like if I was in LA, I would probably have more of an identity there and then have a crisis, essentially identity crisis, where it's just like, yeah, but I grew up on Mexican hip hop. Like all of my people, all my mentors were Mexican, all of my DJs were Mexican, and you can't tell me that it's not ours, you know, that we didn't have it. But I don't have that because all of the people I learned from and everybody I grew up around musically was black, like musicians. My dad played black music, like he played Motown, like he was in like a Mexican rock band, but then they started playing like Motown, like they started covering a bunch of stuff and they were like house band, like they were a house band at places playing this music. So I grew up on like hearing James Brown as like a regular thing. So I feel like I'm the anomaly on this. Probably not the best one for this because I recognize where it all came from. My dad told me, like before this became like the hot topic, my dad told me like this is black music. Like look at who made this. Like and he told me, put me hip to Sun House and Robert Johnson and stuff like that. And he was telling me like, you know, like look at what Eric Clapton and them did, and they made it boring. Like here is boiled chicken. Like, and this is what it's supposed to be like with seasoning. This is like what music is supposed to sound like. This is the blues. Listen to these people who have something to like to be upset about, to like to want to write into it. And when he was explaining texture of vocal, like somebody like Robert Johnson singing about these things and hearing people like B.B. King sing about these things, it's like this is like a voice of people struggling and with some shit on their chest. This is somebody who's trying to replicate that. So like Zeppelin, Eric Clapton, like these guys are talking about working 20, 30 or 15, 18-hour shifts, and they ain't never touched those type of things. They've worked, but they haven't worked like that. And then the pay, so it's like, it was dope. Like I grew up hearing that. Like my dad raised me really radical, like with a lot of stuff and everything, like from like giving me like a Marxist book, like Marxism books and stuff, like just like surface level stuff as a shorty, like even like letting me know who I was named after, like my name and stuff, and then like, you know, naming my son Emiliano. And you know, so we grew up in like this real like my dad put me up on Fred Hampton.
And Rob, some call that deadly raid the massacre on Monroe Street. Black Panther leaders Fred Hampton and Mark Clark were killed, but it was also really a turning point that took years to uncover government motives and their efforts to silence the Black Panther movement. Today, Hampton and Clark's loved ones, though, they held a moment of silence, but they will not be silenced at all as they continue to speak out about that deadly raid and today's issues as well. Ground Zero, the two-flat Chicago police raided 50 years ago, killing Fred Hampton, the chairman of Illinois' Black Panther Party, his then-fiancée 8.5 months pregnant in the same bedroom when police busted in.
When Chairman Fred looked up from the bed, and he moved real slow, and he never moved out the bed and laid his head back down slow. And I left that room with no blood on my clothing, which indicated he had not been shot while I was in the room.
Like real young. And so I was just like,
oh snap.
Yeah, like real radicalized, like as far as like looking at the American flag as like, ew, like couldn't like stomach it type things because I knew what they were doing and stuff like that. Like, you know, and that's how like my politics always played into this. So like understanding, hey, you know, this is my chapter. This is how I'm going to take this is how I'm going to do the next steps into this culture. And then even just the accessibility, like it's something I tell everybody is just like, I don't put myself ahead of that and everything either. I don't make myself the gatekeeper. I don't make myself the you have to come through me in order to get this. It's just like, you know, one of my other crewmates in Fresh Classics, Trish, she's, you know, a young woman, Black woman dancer and artist. And I constantly tell her, like, you know, what do I need in order to support your mission and vision? You know what I mean? How do I put your voice ahead of things and stuff? And so it's not just constantly me. Like, what do I need to do in order to create that? Because it's just what, you know, it's the response, culturally responsible. Like, it's just what I'm supposed to, you know, what we should be doing, you know, like as somebody who has access to a table that historically other people don't have access to. You know, why am I gonna complain about it on one end and then replicate it in myself and what I do? So I'm constantly always asking them to hold me accountable if I do misstep, which I do. You know, I'm not perfect. I make my mistakes and stuff like that, but they constantly are like, hey, Mav, the way that you overspoke in this space, and we should have been able to be that. And I'm like, you're right. Next, actually, let's call these people right now and let's make it like known, like where I misstepped and stuff. So I'm willing, and they see that, and that's why the integrity is always there, you know, at the forefront of whatever I do. If I'm a Chicano owning a space that teaches Black culture, right? That's been the space that's like, well, how do I navigate that? It's by making sure that my board is predominantly like represented from the culture that created it and stuff like that. So having those voices there, constantly being like, I got grant money, what do y'all want to do with it? You know, not just on the youth side, but like the people in the street dance scene, like y'all want to throw a jam, I'll back it. I don't need any creative credit. It's there. I need to do this for the grant anyway. So what better than to give you the money and the resources to do it than just make it about, like, again, Mavs Dance Academy put on something. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, no, like this is how I support my scene, which is majority Black dancers and me owning a art space that teaches Black culture, art culture, by employing Black artists to give life into that space, as opposed to, again, being like Mavs Dance School. You know what I mean? Making it center.
Man, I'm starting to think somebody tried to pull that on you, man, and you just like, hold up. Everybody, I'm doing this for everybody.
Everybody. And then people try to come for me, but my receipts, bro, like if I was out here acting, if I was faking the funk, it would be easy. But it's hard for people because I've cemented myself in integrity. So when these questions of somebody challenging my integrity come up, like, I don't necessarily have to say anything. Other people will speak for me. And because they're the people that they're accusing that I'm disservicing too. And they're just like, nah,
and they're just like, hold up. No doubt. So Detroit versus everybody.
Is that everybody? On the outside of things, I mean, I go into places, I got my homies, but I also like just have that mentality where it's just like, I'm the only one traveling out here. I got a rep for us. Let me start some shit.
For more quality content from Beyond the Cypher with Illskillz, don't forget to press the like and subscribe buttons. Also, feel free to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Beyond the Cypher. Let us know how we're doing down in the comment section, and to make sure you don't miss anything from the channel, smash that notification bell. We appreciate the love and support. Peace. Until the next episode.